Welcome to the fifth lecture of subject direct taxation, where we will be seeing the continuation of problems on module 1. In my last session, we had done six problems on module on determining the residential status of an Assessee. Today, we will be seeing the problems on the same, but problems which are little more difficult. No, you can't say difficult, but a little more higher problems, where the solving part is more when compared to the problems that we did in the last class. Nothing is difficult in this module because if you know the provisions, if you know the basic conditions and additional conditions, then you can solve any problem. Just the calculation part of today's class, what I'll be solving, the problems will be a little more. So let us start. Before we start, again, you all know what does module 1 comprise of. And today we will be covering the continuation to problems on residential status of an individual Assessee. Now, before again beginning with the problems, let us just quickly revise the provisions which will be helping us to solve the problems. So we know that the basic conditions, students remember the sections, because if you write the section in the exam, your answer will be more presentable, it may carry more weightage, and it will be good for you all to score. So section 6 subsection 1 is a section where basic condition of an individual Assessee is to be determined, based on which whether we'll come to know whether he's a resident or non-resident. So if there are two conditions in this, if he satisfies either of one condition or both the condition, he is a resident. If he does not satisfy any of these two conditions, he is a non-resident. Now remember, students, section 6 subsection 1 is consisting of basic conditions which will help you determining whether an individual is an resident or a non-resident. Here you have subsection A and subsection C. Condition number 1 is defined under section 6 subsection 1 clause A, and condition number 2 is defined under section 6 subsection 1 clause C. Remember, students, 182 days or more if you're staying in the relevant previous year, then it is covered under section 6 subsection 1 clause A. Now you will see, where is clause B? Where under clause B, that is section 6 subsection 1 clause B talks about a person of Indian origin, so therefore that is not covered here. And section 6 subsection 1 clause C talks that he's said to be a resident if his stay in India during the 4 years immediately preceding the previous year for a total period of 365 days or more, and means these two should get fulfilled for clause C to be fulfilled, and has been in India for at least 60 days in the previous year. So we have just quickly seen this because this is going to help us solve the problem. Next, today majorly our problems will be on determining whether he is ROR or RNOR. So we will revise this, and this is defined under section 6 subsection 6. Remember, students, section 6 subsection 1 talks about basic condition, and section 6 subsection 6 talks about additional condition. And in additional condition, again, you have two conditions, and if he fulfills both the conditions, he becomes a resident and ordinarily resident. Ordinarily, it is not ordinary, it is ordinarily resident. And if he satisfies either one or none of the conditions, then he becomes resident but not ordinarily resident. So section 6 subsection 6 clause 1 again, he is a resident in any 2 out of last 10 years preceding the relevant previous year. Today our problems will be majorly on this. That is why I am stressing more on this. When I say he is a resident in any 2 out of 10 the last 10 years preceding the relevant previous year, means leaving the current previous year, in the last 10 years you have to check that he should be at least a resident in 2 years. Now when I say resident in 2 years means, he should fulfill the basic condition in at least 2 of the years out of 10 years. So out of 10 years, at least in 2 of the years, if he satisfies basic condition, because our basic condition is what? To determine whether he is a resident or non-resident. And resident he will be tagged only when he is fulfilling either of one or both the conditions. So once he is tagged as a resident in a particular year, you have to just check that out of 10 years, he should be a resident in at least 2 years. And next, his total stay in India in last 7 years preceding the relevant previous year is 730 days or more. Now this is in days. The second condition is in days. Remember students, it is in days. You have to count the days, and year it is in years. So any 2 years you have to check whether he is a resident. It can be any 2 years out of the 10 years. Need not be succeeding to each other or continuation with each other. It can be any of the 2 years. And year, remember, in the last 7 years preceding the relevant previous year, his stay should be 730 days. Here it is in days, here it is in years or more. So if he's fulfilling both these conditions, then he's a resident and ordinarily resident. This we have already seen, but this was just a revision before we begin the problems. Exceptions to basic conditions, we already know that the two basic conditions under section 6 subsection 1 clause A and clause C will not be applicable if he is a person who is leaving India for business or profession or employment, or he is a member of a crew of an Indian ship. In that case, how will you check whether he's a resident or non-resident? Just you have to see that whether in the relevant previous year he stays at least 182 days. That is it. If in respect of only these two, that only in respect of member of a crew of an Indian ship and business and any person leaving India for business or profession for employment purpose, you have to check only 182 days. You need not check the second condition. Second condition is what? That is covering under section 6 subsection 1 clause C. And what is that condition? That condition is that his stay in the 4 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year should be more than 365 days or more, and 60 days or more in the relevant previous year. Now let us see the problems on residential status of individual assessee. If you all remember these two basic conditions and two additional conditions, you all can solve any problem given on residential status of individual assessee. In our previous class, we had completed up to problem number 6. Now moving ahead to problem number 7. Okay. R was born in Lahore in 1948. He was staying in America since 1970. He came to visit India on 2/10, that is 2nd October 2018, and returns on 31st March 2019. Determine his residential status for the assessment year 2019-20. Now, initially, I've just taken simple problems so that we, at a start, don't start with a tougher problem. Okay, now if the assessment year is 1920, what is going to be the previous year? Previous year is going to be 1819. So whenever we have to check the residential status, first we have to go to section 6 subsection 1 where basic conditions are laid down. Under that we have to see clause A, and clause A speaks about that the person's stay in the previous year should be 182 days or more. So let us see. Now he's coming to India on 2nd October. So in the financial year, in the previous year 2018-19. So let us calculate the stay in India in October. How many number of days he's staying in India? 30 days. Now actually October has 31 days. But I already told you all his the day he's coming into India and the day he's leaving India should be calculated as stay in India. So on 1st he was not in India, therefore in India he was for 30 days. In November 2018, he was again for 30 days complete because he returns on March 2019. So up to there, all the months he was there in India. December has 31 days where he stayed in India. January 31 days. Feb 28 days, and March 2019 again he stayed for 31 days and then he went back. Now I am counting March as 31 and not 30 because the day he's returning also should be calculated as stay in India. Now when we total this, it is 181 days. Now is he satisfying the first basic condition? What is the first basic condition? That his stay in India should be 182 days or more. Is he satisfying that? No. What is the second basic condition? His second basic condition is that his stay in India should be 365 days or more in the 4 preceding previous year. Now, he's coming to India itself in 2018. So before 2018-19, that is 17-18 and 16-17, 15-16, 14-15, he's never into India. Obviously, then he's not satisfying the second basic condition. So since he's not satisfying the first basic condition as well as second basic condition, therefore he will be treated as and he will be getting the status of non-resident. So see here, R neither satisfies the first condition of 182 days nor the second condition, as although he was staying in India for a previous year of 181 days. Now second condition has two sub conditions. One is 60 days and more in the previous year and 365 days or more in the 4 preceding previous year. One part of it is getting fulfilled, but the other part is not getting fulfilled. Therefore, the entire condition is not fulfilled. Therefore, R is a non-resident. Have you all understood the problem number 7? Everyone? Students, have you all understood problem number 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Problem number 8. Again, this is a simpler problem which I have covered here initially. Now, Shane Warne, an Australian cricket player, has been coming to India since 1994-95. Every year. Since 1994-1995, he's coming every year to India to play cricket and has been staying here for about 4 months. So every year he's staying in India for 4 months. What will be his residential status for the assessment year 2019-20? So again, we have to go with the basic condition first. So what is the basic condition? Saying that in the previous year, now if the assessment year is 1920, what is going to be the previous year? Previous year is going to be 2018-19. Now first basic condition is that in the previous year, his stay should be 182 days or more. Now let us check whether it is 182 days or more. Since 1994-1995, he is staying for 4 months. That means in 2018-19 also he has stayed in India for 4 months. Now 4 months means how many days? So let us catch one month as 31, the other month as 30 and 31, then 30. So when you add 31 plus 30 plus 31 plus 30, so his stay in the previous year is only 122 days. So is he satisfying the first basic condition? No. Now let us see whether he is satisfying the second basic condition. So in 1 year he is staying for 4 months. That means in 1 year he is staying for 122 days. Is that clear, students? Now the second basic condition says that his stay in the 4 years immediately preceding the current previous year should be 365 days or more. So now if he is staying per year for 122 days, then for 4 years how many days he is staying? 488 days, which is more than 365 and 60 days in the previous year. Now previous year he is staying for 122 days. So he is satisfying the second basic condition. And if he satisfies any one basic condition, he becomes a resident in India. So students, here solution, as Shane Won is in India for more than 60 days in the previous year, because in previous year he stays 122 days. 4 months I have taken it as 122 days, and was in India for more than 365 days in the four preceding previous year. Now since 1994-95 if he is staying, then if 1 year it is 122 days, for 4 years it will be how much? 122 into 4, which is 488 days, and which is more than 365 days. He satisfies one basic condition, therefore he is a resident in India. Now, once we come to know he is a resident in India, we need to check whether he is a ROR or RNOR. So for that, if he satisfies either of both the conditions, then only he becomes a resident and ordinarily resident. Now see, if he is a resident in one particular year, means he is a resident in all the years from 1994-95. So he was a resident in last 2 years out of 10 previous year prior to the relevant previous year. So he's satisfying the first additional condition, and let us see whether he's satisfying the condition of 730 days or more in the 7 preceding previous year. So for 1 year he is staying is 122 days. Then for 7 years into 7 when you do, then it is 854 days, and which is more than 730 days. So he's also satisfying the second additional condition. So when he's satisfying both the additional conditions, he becomes what? Resident and ordinary resident in India. Now, have you all understood the 8th problem? Students, have you all understood the problem number 8? Or any doubt in that? Students, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone understood the 8th problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us move ahead to problems where there is a little more calculation. Okay. Now pay attention, students. Up to here we did very basic problems, and basic problems also do come in your exam. Now let us move ahead to problem number 9. X came to India for the first time on July 24, 2014. From July 24, 2014 to December 25, 2015, he was in India. Then he went back. Again, he came to India on August 5th, 2018 for employment purpose, and left India on November 25th, 2018 permanently. Determine his residential status for the previous year 18-19. So here they have already given that the previous year is 18-19. Determine his residential status. So we will go step by step. What is the first thing? First thing is you see section 6 subsection 1, which talks about the basic condition. Now what is the first basic condition, and in which section it is specified? Section 6 subsection 1 clause A. What does that condition tell us? That his stay in the previous year, relevant previous year, should be 182 days or more. So let us just concentrate in this year first. Later we will see other conditions. So in 2018-19, his stay in India should be 182 days or more. So for that, first let us calculate the number of stay in India for this particular year. So this particular year means we will take the calculation from he came to India on August 5th, 2018 and left on November 2018. So from August 5th, our calculation of number of days will start, which will end up to November 25th. So let us see the solution. During the previous year 2018-19, X was in India for 113 days. Now, how did we derive at this 113 days? Let us see. The year is 1819 because the first basic condition tells that in the previous year, 1819, his stay should be 182 days or more. Now, when did he come to India during this year? He went from India in 2015 and directly came into India on August 5th. So for April, he was for zero number of days. May, he was not in India. June, he was not in India. July, he was not in India. He was in India in August, but August 5th he came. So totally August has 31 days, out of which 4 days he was not in India. So when you minus 31 minus 4, so only 27 days he stayed in India. And directly when he left India, November 25th. So September, the complete month he was there in India. September has 30 days. October has 31 days. And November 25th he left India. So 25th also should be counted as stay in India. And then he left India permanently. Means he never came back only to India. Therefore, December he was not in India, January he was not, Feb he was not, March he was not in India. Remember students, previous year financial year starts from April 2018 ends to March 2019. So when you add up these, when you add up 27 plus 30 plus 31 plus 25, you get 113 days. Now tell me students whether he is satisfying the first basic condition of his stay in the previous year being 182 days or more. No, he is not satisfying the first basic condition. Now let us see whether he is satisfying the second basic condition. What is the second basic condition? Saying that his stay in India should be more than 365 days during the 4 years immediately preceding the previous year. Now previous year is what? 1819. Now before that 4 years you have to take. So we took 1718, 1617, 1516, 1415, and these are the 4 years. Now in this 4 years we have to calculate whether the total is more than 365 days or no. So for that we know that a financial year starts from April, ends in March. So for this, let us see first the problem once again. He came to India for the first time on July 24, 2014. So obviously in which year it is going to fall 14, 15. Now he came for the first time in July. So in the year 14, 15 for April, May, June he was not in India. So we have taken it as nil. Now in July he has come on 24th July. Now July has 31 days. In that 31 days, 23 days he was not in India because the day 24th we have to count students because 24th is his stay in India. Because if he's coming into India that day, they have to calculate stay in India. So 31 minus 23 because 23 days he was not in India of July month. So only July 8 days he was there in India. And he stayed from July 24th, 2014 to December 25th, 2015. So up to December 25th, 2015, he was staying in India. So obviously year 31 August, September 30, October 31, November 30, December 31, Jan 31, 28 days in Feb, and March 31 days we have taken. Then the next year, 15, 16, he left India in December 25th, 2015. So he was there April in India, May in India, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December 25th he left India. So I've taken December as 25 days because December 25th he left India. Now, then he directly came into India in August 5th, 2018. Now, 2018 comes as a previous year, but we have to just check 4 years preceding the relevant previous year. So, obviously, in these 2 years, he's never come to India, so the number of days is nil. So, when we total this, 251 plus 269. So, how much it is? 251 plus 269, it is 520 days. So So in the 4 years immediately preceding the previous year, his stay in India was more than 365 because he stayed for a period of 520 days. So he's not satisfying the first basic condition, but he's satisfying the second basic condition, which is specified under section 6 subsection 1 clause C. Therefore, he's a resident in India. So as he satisfies the condition given in section 6 subsection 1 clause C, he is a resident in India. Okay. Once we know he's a resident in India, then we have to check what? Whether he is a resident or ordinary resident, and not ordinary resident. So for that, what we need to do, there are two conditions specified under section 6 subsection 6, that he should be a resident during 2 years out of 10 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. And also his stay in India should be 730 days or more in the preceding 7 years preceding the relevant previous year. Now let us see. He was a resident during the 2 out of 10 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year. Now how do you call it as him as a resident? Because students, even if he's satisfying the second basic condition, he still becomes a resident in India. And but he was in India only for 520 days in the 7 years immediately preceding the relevant previous year, because he came first time in 1415. Correct. So before that 7 years, if you count before this, if you count 3 more years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 more years if you count before this, he was not in India. So the total period in the 7 years should be 730 days or more, but his stay was only for 520 days or more. So he's not satisfying both. He's not satisfying one additional condition. Therefore, he becomes a resident, but not ordinarily resident in the previous year 2018-19. Now, did you all understand this solution of problem number 9? Students, have you all understood the solution of problem number 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone? Okay. Let us move to problem number 10. During the previous year 1819, X, a foreign citizen, stayed in India for just 69 days. Determine his residential status for the assessment year 1920 on the basis of the following information. So basis this information, we have to determine his residential status. During 1516, X was in India for 366 days. During 2012-13 and 11-12, X was in Japan for 359 days and 348 days respectively and the balance period he was in India. And Mrs. X is resident in India for the assessment year 1920. Now we are not bothered about Mrs. X. This is an unnecessary information. We are not bothered. We have to just concentrate and determine the residential status of Mr. X. Okay. So how do you determine the residential status of Mr. X? First basic condition is his stay in India should be 182 days or more in the previous year. Now, if the assessment year is 1920, what is going to be the previous year? The previous year is going to be 1819. So 1819, he's just staying in India for 69 days. It is given here. So is he satisfying the first basic condition? No. So Mr. X is not satisfying the first basic condition that is specified under section 6 subsection 1 clause A. Now let us see whether he is satisfying the second basic condition, which is specified under section 6 subsection 1 clause C. So to determine that, we have to see the 4 years immediately preceding the current previous year. So now what is the previous year? It is 2018-19. So the 4 years before that, 4 years before that will be 2017-18, 2016-17, 2015-16, and 2014-15. Correct? Okay. So let us see. That is, it is going to be these 4 years immediately preceding the current previous year. Now, here they have given in the problem that during 15-16 he stayed for 366 days. So we have written here 15-16 he stayed for 366 days. Rest of the years he was not in India, so we have written as nil. Now, is he satisfying the second basic condition? Second basic condition is his stay should be 365 days or more. Now, obviously, it is 366 days means it is 365 days or more. And in the previous year, it should be 60 days or more. And previous year, his stay is 69 days. So it is more than 60 days. So he is satisfying the second basic condition. And therefore, even if he satisfies any one condition, basic condition, he becomes a resident in India. So for the previous year, 2018-19, as he satisfies the second basic condition, as his stay during the previous year for 69 days and in the preceding 4 years is for 366 days. Therefore, he is a resident in India. Now, once we know he's a resident in India, we have to determine whether he's a ROR or RNOR. For that, what is the first additional condition? He should be a resident in 2 out of any 10 years preceding the relevant previous year. Okay. So leaving the previous year is what? 18-19. Leaving that 10 years we have written here. Okay. Now let us see his stay in India. Year in 15-16 they have given that his stay in India is 366 days. So we have written here 366 days. Okay. Next, in 2012-13 and 11-12, he was in Japan for 359 days. He was in Japan for 359 days. So what is the balance number of stay in India? Remember students, 2012-13 was a leap year. Now what is leap year? Where there is an extra day added to Feb. Usually Feb has 28 days, but in leap year Feb has 29 days. So usually the number of days in a year is 365 days, but during leap year the number of days in a year is 366 days. So now 2012 and 13 was a leap year. So total 366 days minus 359, because 359 days he was in Japan. 359 days he was in Japan. So what is the balance number of days he stayed in India in 2012-13? 7 days. And he's telling in 2011-12, he stayed for 348 days in Japan and balance he stayed in India. And 11-12 was not a leap year. So when it is not a leap year, the number of days will be 365. So 365 minus 348. So balance is 17 days. 17 days he was in India. So 2011-12, 17 days he was in India. Now, we have to check whether in all the 10 years, which year he was a resident or non-resident. Now, obviously, he stay in India, whichever year is nil, is going to be a non-resident. And whichever year it is going to be 365 days or less, he is going to be a non-resident. Or even if it is not more than 60 days. So he is a resident in only 2015 and 16. So is he satisfying the first basic additional condition? No. First additional condition says that he should be in India as a resident for at least 2 years out of the 10 years. So he is just resident in 1 year. Then we need to calculate that in the 7 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In these 7 years, his stay should be 730 days or more. Now, is it 730 days or more? No. If you add 366 plus 7 plus 17, he has stayed only for 390 days in the 7 years. So it is less than 370 days. Therefore, he is not satisfying both the additional condition, and therefore he will be termed as resident but not ordinary resident. So he was in India for less than 730 days in the 7 years previous years, and he is a non-resident in 9 out of 10 previous years. So actually he should be a non-resident for at least 8, but he's a non-resident for 9 years. Out of the 10 years, 9 years he's a non-resident. Only for 1 year he's a resident, whereas the condition says that for at least 2 years he should be a resident. Therefore both the conditions, additional conditions, are not getting fulfilled. Hence he is a resident but not ordinary resident. Have you all understood the problem number 10?
Ma'am, please explain the solution once again. Solution, ma'am.
Complete solution, or you just want the additional basic conditions, any one of those?
Years, ma'am. Calculation of the days in years. 2015, 16. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay. In this, already it is given that during the previous year 18-19 he stayed for 16 days, and this previous year calculation will only come for the first basic condition, which says that his stay should be 182 days or more. Now is it 182 days or more in the previous year? No. So he's not satisfying the first basic condition. Second basic condition tells us that his stay in the 4 years immediately preceding the current previous year should be 365 days or more. Now to check that, we have to prepare a table. Now, what are the 4 years preceding 2018-19? What are the 4 years? It is 17-18, 16-17, 15-16 and 14-15. Now, let us see the number of days. During 15-16, he was only present in India for 366 days. Rest of the years, he was not present in India. Therefore, we took as 000. So, just present for 366 days in 15-16. Now, is he satisfying the second basic condition? What is the second basic condition saying? That his stay in India during the 4 years immediately preceding the current previous year or relevant previous year should be 365 days or more. Now, if we add all this, it is more than 365 because it is 366 days. And in the previous year, it should be 60 days or more. Previous year, he's staying for 69 days. He's satisfying the second basic condition. And even if he satisfies one basic condition, he becomes a resident in India. So therefore, he's a resident in India. Have you understood up to here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, once we know he's a resident in India, what is the next step? To check whether he is a resident and ordinary resident or resident and not ordinary resident. To check that, what we are supposed to do? We have to supposed to check the two additional conditions. So condition number 1, first additional condition is he should be a resident for at least 2 years out of the 10 previous year. So first let us write this 10 previous year. So all these 10 previous years we have written. You have to not consider the current relevant previous year. You should not consider. Preceding that, whatever is the 10 years, we have to write that. So 17, 18, 16, 17, 15, 16, 14, 15, 13, 14, 12, 13, 11, 12, 10, 11, and the earlier years before that. Okay. Next, we have to check stay in India. Now, because to know whether he's a resident or no, we have to know the stay in India, right? So what is his stay in India in 17, 18? He was not staying in India. 16, 17, he was not staying in India. 15, 16, he was staying for 366 days. 14, 15, there is no information given. He was not staying in India. 13, 14, not staying in India. But look at this second point. During 12, 13 and 11, 12, X was in Japan for 359 days and 348 days for the respective years. And the balance period he was there in India. Now, out of the entire year, if 359 days he was in Japan for the year 12, 13, what is the number of days he is there in India? Now, 12, 13 was a leap year. Now, leap year has how many days? 366 days in a year. Out of 366 days in a year, 359 days he was in Japan. So remaining 7 days he was there in India. So in 2012-13, 7 days he's there in India. Next in 2011-12, 348 days he was in Japan, and 11-12 is not a leap year. Students, you all know what is leap year, right? A leap year is a year which has an extra day, that is in Feb. Usually Feb has 28 days. Leap year has in leap year Feb has 29 days. So year 2000 was a leap year, 2004 was a leap year, 2008. Just take 4 years from the current year. So 2008 was a leap year, 2012 is a leap year, 2016 was a leap year, 2020 is a leap year. Next it will be 2024 will be a leap year. So remember in exam leap year, student, because you all got to know that which year is a leap year, so you have to remember the leap years. Okay, so 2011-12 was not a leap year. So if it is not a leap year, what is the number of days in a year? 365. Out of 365, 348 days he was in Japan. 3 minus 348. So what is the balance number of days he is there in India? For 17 number of days he is there in India. So have you understood, Padmaja, the calculation of number of stay in India?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, based on the number of stay in India, we can determine whether he's a resident or a non-resident. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no? Yes. So if he's staying for 0 days in India, will he be a resident or a non-resident?
Non-resident, ma'am.
Resident.
Non-resident. Now, only in 15-16 he's staying for 366 days. So what is the, how do you determine whether he's a resident or no? You check the 2 basic conditions, correct? What are the 2 basic conditions? Only for resident, non-resident, what do? You check the basic conditions. Now, what is the basic condition? That his stay in the previous year should be 182 days. Now, he's staying for 366 days. So, obviously, he's a resident, correct? So, he's tagged as a resident. In all other cases, just check the basic conditions. He is tagged as a non-resident. Now, is he satisfying the first additional condition? First additional condition says that out of 10 years, 2 years at least he should be a resident. Now, out of 10 years, only 1 year he is a resident. Now, is he satisfying the first additional condition? No. Second additional condition says that out of 7 years, out of these 7 years, his stay in India should be 730 days or more. Now, is it 730 days? No, because 366 plus 7 plus 17 is only 390. It is not more than 730 or 730 days. Therefore, the second additional condition also is not getting fulfilled. Now, when both the additional conditions are not getting fulfilled, whether he'll be ROR or RNOR, he will be RNOR, that is resident but not ordinarily resident. Now, have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Or should I take back to this? If he's satisfying both, only when he's satisfying both the conditions, he becomes ROR, that is resident and non. Now, in that sum, he's not satisfying both the conditions. So how can we tag him as ROR? He will obviously be RNOR. Is this clear?
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we have only 10 minutes left, and this problem will take, I think, at least 15 to 20 minutes. It's a quite big problem. So we'll continue in the next class. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, students. Any doubt? Any doubt in understanding the problems? Any doubt in understanding the problem?
No, ma'am.
Students, just remember you need to know only the basic and additional conditions. That's it. And you need to be very particular in calculating the number of days. That's it. And then you can solve any problem on residential status of an individual SSC. One problem on this is sure to come for your final examination. Now, if you all have any doubts, you all can let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much, students.